First and foremost, all praises are due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Salutations to the brothers around the four corners of the earth who are teaching this word and truth and sincerity. And shalom to the hopeful elect, a few men, women, and children who believe in this word. This is your brother Karatazah Abad coming at you again with another lesson. This is a short one, and I entitled it, Everything is Setting Up for the Insurrection Act. Let's get a meaning of what the Insurrection Act is. It says here, the Insurrection Act of 1807 is the U.S. federal law that empowers the President of the United States to nationally deploy the U.S. military and to federalize the National Guard units of the individual states in specific circumstances, such as the suppression of civil disorder, of insurrection, and of armed rebellion. And we know this past weekend we had the No Kings protest. Over 2 million people all over Babylon, America, protesting against Donald J. Trump. So this article, it says here, Trump malls invoking the Insurrection Act. So everything is setting up. And he already is trying to what? He's been deploying the U.S. military in certain cities, such as D.C. he did. Of course, L.A., I believe Portland, Oregon, he's going to be trying to do. Memphis, and then Chicago. And now he's also he's going to be signaling, sending troops to San Francisco. So all the parameters are being set up. And then you have the economic shutdown. You have the non-issuing of food stamps for November. Also Medicaid being cut for November possibly. So all these things are like a perfect storm. It's like a pot of food that boils over. And we know we're in the beginning stages of what? Jacob's trouble. Because once November hits and those food stamps aren't issued, you're going to have people going in stores, robbing, looting, you see, and that's going to cause pure chaos. And then they can say, you see what's happening? And then they can, police officers get involved, people get shot, people get killed, you have more rioting, you have more protests. So all these things are boiling over. It's going to be a boiling point. It's going to boil over. It's the perfect storm for chaos. And this is what the elite Edomites want. They want full-blown chaos. Killing, robbing, stealing, the government going down, the economy failing, people losing jobs. And then they can invoke martial law and lockdowns. And then they can say, once all the chaos dies down, okay, once the killing stops, okay, once everything stops, they can say, you know what? We have a solution. It's this CHIP, this chip that you can get inserted in your forehead or your hand, pursuant to Revelation 13 and verse 16. So everything has been pre-planned. They've created the problems. Now we're having the reactions, the protests, so on and so forth. And then they're going to come up with what? The solution. And also the Democrats and Republicans, they are two feathers of the same bird working together. So the politicians don't give a goddamn about you. They're all working for the elites, Edomites, the bankers that put them into office. So let's also get another definition here. In the last time the Insurrection Act was invoked was what? Was in 1992 during the Watts riots. Let's get a definition of insurrection real quick here, if I can, if it lets me do it. Definition of insurrection. It says here, a violent uprising against an authority or government. What is the legal definition of insurrection? The legal definition of insurrection is the act of revolting violently against civil or political authority or an established government. All right? It involves combined resistance with the intent to deny the authority of the government, often manifested through violence. So this is what they want, okay? They want full-blown violence. And when people can't feed their families, You're going to have full-blown violence, which will be a time like no other, known as Jacob's Trouble. Let's read a little bit of this article by The Independent, and we'll get a few scriptures. It says here, the title of the article says, Trump mauls invoking the Insurrection Act and signals he'll send troops to San Francisco. Let's read this here. I don't want that right there, sorry. President Donald Trump strongly suggested that he was preparing to use the Insurrection Act to crack down on dissent nationwide in an interview Sunday, while warning that National Guard deployments would take place in San Francisco next. He spoke in a pre-recorded discussion that aired Sunday on Fox News Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo, about using the power of the federal government to militarize the National Guard in states where he and his team claim that Democratic officials are refusing to cooperate with federal law enforcement and crime-fighting efforts, including the White House's mass deportation campaign. So you see how everything is setting up. And like I said, the Democrats and Republicans, it's called controlled opposition. So the elite international bankers that run the world, the small hats, they control both sides. You see, they control both sides. So what you do is you have two sides fighting against each other, but the ultimate outcome you already have figured out, which is eventually what? The MOTB. Once all the chaos dies down from Jacob's Trouble, famine of food, race riots, civil war, lockdowns, martial law, death, people dying like down the streets, the internet going down, the electricity going down, the economy failing, jobs being lost. You see? So this is the perfect storm for the Insurrection Act to be passed. And then once you bring all the chaos down, you can say we have the solution, the chip in Revelation 13, verse 16. We're going to calm everything down. You're going to be able to get food. You're going to have your medical on there. You're going to have all your car registration. All your information will be on one thing inserted inside you, and it's going to solve all the problems. But what it really is another state, and even more of a bigger state of what? Being in slavery. It's going to be enhanced slavery in total surveillance, like that movie 1984. If you ever get a chance to look at that movie 1984, it'll show you what Babylon America is headed towards and what the elite Edomites want. They want total control. Let's go to a scripture. Let's go to 2nd Esdras, if I can. Let's get 2nd Esdras chapter 15 to back up the article. 2nd Esdras 15 and verse 2nd Esdras 15 verse 14, and it reads, it says here, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. So you see everything being set up. Republican against Democrat, Black against white, so-called, because there's no such thing as black or white people, but Edomites against Hebrew Israelites, so on and so forth, So you have this all being set up. When you take resources and food and water from people and they have to feed their family, this is what you end up doing. But this is what they want. People going at each other's throats, Let's read verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men in invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So this is the perfect way to initiate what? The Insurrection Act, martial law, lockdowns, and the troops are already being put in place to quell the violence when it happens. Let's continue. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So that's movies like The Road, The Book of Eli, Mad Max, and many other dystopian movies, even The Walking Dead, which really wasn't about zombies, but is really about the times we're about to come into. Jacob's trouble. Let's continue. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, particularly if you need food and water and goods. You're going to see people's characters come out. But, okay, let's read it again. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of a lack of bread and for great tribulation. Okay? So we're headed towards those times. Let's go to Isaiah 19 and verse 1. So we're trying to warn our people to repent and convert and seek the Lord before these evil days go full blown. Ecclesiastes 12 and Isaiah 19, wrong one. Isaiah 19 and verse 1. And it reads, that's not it, Salakia. Isaiah 19 and verse 1. And it reads, the burden of Egypt, and this Egypt here refers to Babylon, America. Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, Babylon, America, and the idols of Babylon, America, I'll just say, shall be moved at his presence. In the heart of Egypt, Babylon, America, shall melt in the midst of it. But before this happens, before Yahushua comes back, when it says swift cloud, that's speaking of the big, gigantic spaceship in which Yahushua is going to be coming back on the day of the Lord to help wreak havoc with the missiles that are going to be launched from Russia and the other nations towards Babylon, America. At the same time, Yahushua is going to be coming, cracking those clouds in a big spaceship, but he's going to what? Beam up the elect, the remnant, who have come back to the Lord in truthfulness and sincerity. So if you're not part of the elect and you're not beamed up on that spaceship, you're going to die in that fire, the lake of fire on the day of the Lord. Isaiah 19 and verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, Americans against Americans, Republicans against Democrats, those who are down with the LGBT community and those who aren't, so-called black and white people, so on and so forth. Division, division, division. Yahushua said what? I'm not coming to bring peace. He says, I'm coming to bring variance, which means division. So Jacob's trouble will be the full-blown division on many levels. Let's read it again, Isaiah 19 and 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, Americans against Americans, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. So this Jacob's trouble will also reach around the world, but the main point, the main center of the chaos will be where? Here in Babylon, America. So on that note, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. I hope this lesson was edifying to you. Shalom.